Welcome to All Sides, Kennebec. I'm Sean Karen.
This is Jeremy Lezot. Sorry for being late. We had some technical difficulties earlier, but we're here.
Yes, they decided. Facebook decided to make me update my firmware.
Hate when that happens.
Right.
It happens.
But we have Scott McAdoo and Josh. Laury. Thank you. I always mess it up. I'm horrible with names, as everybody knows.
Yes.
I will butcher any name.
Like Derek's.
Yes, Derek.
Call him Lassard.
Bad. Yeah, it's hard. I'm bad with names. Yeah, so welcome to the show. I really have no idea what we're going to talk about today, so hopefully we get some people on. Let me pull it up so I can read messages if anybody decides to come.
Scott's here and he does the land trust, so and the South End Neighborhood Association, so he can talk
many other things.
Many other things. You probably saw him helping out at the Waterville Parade and things like that. So sure, we can discuss some good stuff.
Definitely.
I'm just here to.
Josh has actually moved back to Waterville.
Yeah, I just moved back to Waterville. I've been watching you guys for a while, and it's kind of something for me to get informed a little bit about what's going on around here. And
where'd you live before?
I lived in Benton.
Oh, I was raised in Benton. Good
I
place.
didn't go far.
Right.
Where I used to live.
Yeah, I grew up with Josh. When he lived just off of Main Street.
I lived here for the first 18 years of my life, and then the last 15 or so I've been between Clinton and Benton. So I kept
good places.
Kept a tab on what's going on around town. Of course, it's a hub city, so therefore everyone around comes to town to shop. And
yep. I used to live in Benton, right next to Clinton on the Belskis Road.
Oh yeah, I lived almost into Albion on the Richards Road, over by the Littlefield Farm.
Oh, okay.
Fiddler's Fest.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice little area.
Yeah.
Quiet.
I like Albion.
Definitely. So we have some pretty exciting things happening. If you drive down Front Street, you'll see that they're starting some construction. So definitely keep your eyes out for that.
The motel's going up pretty good.
Yeah, we got that going. So I guess
Just working today. We got skating rink going up in Kringleville, right in the square in City Hall. Hopefully in a few days it'll be cold enough to support ice, so we can go ice skating.
definitely. I don't even know what the forecast is supposed to be for the next.
It's supposed to be cold.
Is it
cold? And Monday is supposed to be like 50. And it's supposed to get cold again.
I know they keep canceling school, so we've had 2 cancellations. One
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it was
last
a
week.
few weeks, and then last week.
One this week, I should say.
Yeah, it was the night of the town council meeting.
Tuesday.
Did you end up going to that?
I did not.
I did not either. I made the mistake of reading something online and thought stuff was closed, and then I glanced at the Waterville, just saw the picture, and I should have read into it more, and I ended up missing it, so I was kind of bummed about that. But
hopefully I'll be in town more, so I want to start attending, get to know
The counselors.
being spent, the counselors, stuff like that. It's good to know. I mean, I rent, but it'll still increase my rent. It still hurts other things.
Oh yeah.
As far as services.
We've had a couple of
and
them
stuff.
on here.
yeah,
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen Jay.
Yep. Jay.
Phil,
He's
Sid.
no longer a counselor, but Sid.
he's on the
Charter
commission.
Yeah.
So,
Which is just as important.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So he's still around.
So how does that work? You guys come up with the charter commission, and then they come up with rules that things should be changed,
And then
it goes to the
people
vote.
to vote.
To vote on the
I
changes.
believe so.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like, because I don't live in Waterville, I live in Oakland.
They're going to be looking at a bunch of things that could be
I know there's a
affecting
lot of talk
about the ward
taking
system.
out the ward system. I've heard a lot of talk about taking out the mayor position.
Mm-hmm. But like specifically when you guys go to vote for it, is it like because obviously I'm assuming what they're going to do is they're going to propose changes to the charter,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
line item changes.
We accept if you want to.
So does that then go to the vote for individual changes, or
No, it's all
the
one
recommendation?
all recommendation, all one thing. I think
That sounds kind of silly, though.
it's
I
all
would think. Because it's like an all or take kind of. It's like an
Take
all or
all
nothing
or, yeah.
kind of thing,
Yeah, I
which
think-
sounds kind of ridiculous.
Don't
because
call me, but I think that's what it was last time we did it. It was
maybe someone watching can help, like Nick or anyone that might be watching that knows the answer to this, or even Steve Soul or someone.
We can look it up.
That is a good question because, like,
Well,
if there's something that you agree with but something you don't.
well, because I'm
agree
sure
with,
there's not going to be everything you agree with.
Right.
So you don't want like a yes, I want to make these changes, all of them,
Right.
or no, because then none of the good changes that you want to see put forward, they're all just going to go
Right.
away if it gets voted down.
Yeah, I agree.
As
with
opposed
that
to just doing, do you agree on this change? Yes.
Right.
Do you agree on this change?
Right.
Sounds like it would make a lot more sense.
One thing that I found kind of odd was how the process works to pick people. So we have 7 people from 7 of the wards run.
Remember, this one though is a different way to pick the last 3 versus the one
Right.
that happened a few years ago.
Okay, yeah, and yes, and so this time around, the council picks 3. I believe is how it's set.
Right, they picked the
So,
last 3.
Yeah, so.
And
Because
they were
I didn't know in the beginning. I didn't
they were
know that.
picked already
I didn't know
at the
that there
meeting.
was any after 7. I thought we picked that 7 and that was it. That's
Because
So
there was
there's
10
total.
seats.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
And then they each got voted by each ward, obviously, being 7.
Yeah.
And then they got nominated or wanted to be chosen.
right. We voted on
Right.
our for charters.
Well, the first, right,
yeah,
first
the
set.
for
first
our
set.
ward,
get
yeah, each
voted
patient
on.
for the ward, then the council picks 7 more or 3 more.
3 more to make 10. And they picked them already.
Yeah,
The
they
last
picked,
meeting.
they picked them Tuesday night. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I think it was Sam, Burdick. I'm not sure if that's.
Hold on, I'm sure they posted it.
They did.
Yeah.
It's Sam, Tom Nail,
Yep.
and there's
I saw that
one
name.
more other person.
Liberty,
Well, Liberty?
I think it was
So
John,
Jessica?
John the Liberty.
Oh, John.
I think so.
I don't know. Sure it's not, I'm sure it's not super fun watching us Google stuff.
I know.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Probably
Just trying to
so much,
Pull it up.
so much
fast.
confused.
There's so many pages. I'm trying to find the right one.
Even that, it's so confusing to find out how what's what.
Right.
I'm sure if you look on Nick's Facebook, he probably posted it from the Sentinel, and there'd be a quick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
But,
So I haven't been watching lately. What's everyone's opinion on the ambulances?
I think it's a good idea.
Kind of gone over it, but
yes, I have been vocal about it for people's on Facebook, but I think it's a good idea. Based out of if it's just right now, the way it's being presented, it's just a backup service.
right,
So that way, no one's competing with Delta.
right,
It's only as a backup service for in case Delta can't make it, which has happened. I think they said like 80 times last year.
right, and I get that.
They're and they're
How
literally
are
they got to
funding
spend that money.
I know they got to spend that money on the fire department.
Or on something that's
But
a
how
light
are they
equipment.
funding like the paramedics themselves? Do they have to?
They
hire
don't have to
paramedics?
hire. They don't have any staffing increases.
All right. Well, see,
They're
that's one thing
only-
I was wondering.
Yes. So based on what I've seen and read and heard from the chief at the meetings, that because he's done a PowerPoint presentation, good, thoughtful PowerPoint presentation. Not the last meeting, but the meeting before, and no staffing changes because it just uses backup service.
Right.
So all they're going to do is instead of driving the rescue truck, which they do to every call, they're going to drive the ambulance.
All right.
And the ambulance is going to be there just to assist in case Delta can't get there, to just transport the person to the ambulance, or to the hospital rather.
Right. See, I've been seeing.
And then
a
they
lot
can
of
charge
things,
that
too.
person.
Right.
Right.
That's where I
Or
was
the
just about
insurance.
to go.
The
Like, a lot of people are saying, well, we got to pay for this ambulance. Now they're going to charge us to ride this ambulance. That's another thing I've been thinking about. Like,
Well, you're either going to be charged by Delta,
right, which I get.
or it's going to be. I think they're trying to work it out so that people that are actively in the city might get charged less.
Right.
But like for instance, if I don't live in Waterville, I don't pay property taxes. I own a business in Waterville. I don't pay individual property taxes in Waterville. So if something happened here, they would bill me. You know,
Right.
If I had to
Say
get
if
driven
you
to the
got into
hospital,
a car accident. or
right, and I had to
something down.
get driven to the hospital, they could bill me. I don't blame them.
Right.
It costs money.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to it completely. I'm actually like trying to figure out money facts, stuff like that.
Sure.
And like I said, I know a few people have been asking about the double dipping of it. As they've been calling it. I wouldn't really so-called call it that because, like you said, it costs money to operate that.
Right.
You
Yeah.
have to make something back.
And granted, there might be maybe a stipend they can offer to people that live in Waterville. So maybe instead of charging $250 per transport, they charge you $100,
Right.
which is sometimes you charge $500 for transport. So
Right.
$100 instead of $500, very reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because otherwise, you're gonna get charged by Delta, or your
Right.
insurance is going to.
Right.
one fear that I've heard from a few people is they were looking back and when it was the LePage administration when the hospitals got paid back. People, I've heard this from a few people now. They're worried that what happens if, say, Maine Care doesn't pay their bills again, and it racks up that huge amount
when
of
they
debt.
don't pay their bills?
Yeah.
So the numbers. So
I know it's when.
right,
But
so the numbers that they had come up with were conservatively done to allow for, I think, according to the big book that Chief drags around, it's like if
I'd like to see if we could get him
if
on.
only 30%
So
of the
that would be
people pay their bills for the transport service,
right.
30%. So that's a pretty conservative. That's a pretty low number.
Right.
I would like to think more than 30% of the people would pay their bills. But 30% of the people, and you still make out more money than you would lose.
Right.
Which would obviously make it so the taxes don't have to go up.
Right.
If anything, it might alleviate some of the taxes because then the fire department can then use some of this to generate a little bit of revenue to offset what the taxes would then take.
Right.
Which would make it so that instead of needing a budget of X, which is $1 million for instance, maybe you need a budget of $900,000, which obviously means taxes go up less, $100,000.
Right. All right.
Those are obviously very
Like I said,
estimate, rough numbers.
one of the good reasons why I wanted to come here is to actually discuss stuff like this because I don't get to see it. I work out of state, so like I'm not home as much as I would like to be.
I hear it.
Well, I think too the biggest reason was you look at sometimes like with Delta, because Delta does all the multiple towns. Where there's been situations where Delta's been so delayed, they get a call in Clinton.
Or Albion.
And
Albion came here a month ago?
Yeah, because I remember that was actually the situation where they called in Clinton. Well, Clinton's got two ambulances. One was heading to, I think it was Eastern Maine, and the other one, their other rescue, was out on a call.
Exactly.
I think it was. Now, I don't remember how much delay, but it was quite a bit of a delay. Where luckily it wasn't something like
life-threatening.
Life-threatening, but if it could have been life-threatening, it would have been.
I get what you're saying, man.
And it's only, I think the cost of the added increase of insurance that everyone's worried about, it's like $1,000 per year
No, that's
premium, but that's nothing compared to
that's nothing.
Yeah, it was a little silly how they had to go about doing it to get the license. You have to own the
the
equipment.
transport license.
Yeah,
you have to get. I was referring to the insurance. But
Right, no,
to
no,
get the
no,
license,
right,
you have to already
right,
purchase the.
right.
Well, because the idea is you want to make sure you have skin in the game.
Yeah.
You don't want to just apply for your transport service license and then never use it.
Right.
So, or not even have the ability to use it,
Yeah.
because people can rely on you at that point. And if you're like, oh, sorry, we don't have any ambulances.
We don't have an ambulance.
Well,
now.
what's the point of you having a license then?
Right. Yeah.
So you gotta buy the ambulances
That kind of
before you
gets
can
me.
even apply.
Even the ambulance issue, you look at the ladder truck. A lot of people are against the ladder truck. It's like, why do we even need a ladder truck? Why do we even need this? Like, we realize, Waterville does need a ladder truck. we've got some pretty tall
Yeah.
buildings. I think it was brought up to the insurance issue.
Towers.
Wasn't that the reason for getting
Well, yeah,
Elm Tower?
you got Elm Towers. You got the,
I think that was one of the deciding
downtown.
factors.
Which one's the Elm Towers?
That's the one
right
where
over here.
the
on
big
my
white tall
side.
build 7-story.
I'm not sure how
I
many
think
floors.
it's-
But even that, I think it was mentioned too that
Okay, that one.
if we don't have the ladder truck, your home insurance goes up.
True.
Because there's certain, it's like,
Well, yeah, because you have certain liabilities
Yeah.
that you
That
have
aren't
to
being
spend
met,
more on.
Yeah.
it's one of those things like they think it's like sharing a ladder truck. Yeah, it would work for a small town, a couple small towns.
Right.
I think
like maybe Benton.
Well, I think Rumford and Mexico share a ladder truck.
But they're basically one town.
Yeah, they're basically
Right,
small.
yeah,
Whereas,
they're like
Waterville,
really
Winslow's
close.
like, it wouldn't work, where it's like, what happens if Winslow could have called who gets the truck first? And,
Right.
if you get a fire, let's say in Winslow, you got a small house and that truck's already committed, but yet we get a call in Waterville where we get needed for a 4-story building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's to say that my call's more important than yours?
Yeah. Paul. Yeah.
Definitely.
Craziness of it.
Well, we got that back. 'Cause that was my big thing. I
Mike's
couldn't
watching.
hear enough of it
Was
because, like I
watching.
said, I was always working. So therefore, it's like I couldn't hear enough of the debate on money and this and that. And that was one of the reasons why when Sean asked me to come on, I was like, yeah, I'll come on because I'd like to talk about this stuff so I can learn.
Yeah, of course.
So I can get the better end of it.
Well, that's how you learn is discuss this.
And I mean,
more
another
things
thing
obviously
here
always better.
is a lot of people say, well, the counselors, they know more information and this and that. Well, that kind of drives me nuts because if they got the information, put it out.
And the thing
That's
the
the
thing that we're
hardest
finding is
yeah.
that's always the most difficult, and that's why we have
part.
this. The most difficult way to get the information out
Right.
is, how do you do that? And then with the information that is out, I think I was looking on Facebook, people don't always have the accurate information.
Right.
Or
Yeah, that's why when I do the
Obviously, I'm sure we're all for transparency.
I'm
Yeah.
100%
when I do the
Right.
videos
Posts or-
for the council meetings, I put the itinerary with the heading of it.
Right.
So, but yeah, I try to make it a little easier, but even then, it's still difficult to figure out to timestamp everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and there's,
So-
these things like FOIA requests and things like that you could then use
Right.
to get more
Yeah, that's another
information.
thing.
Maybe the city manager and the mayor might have more information that you think that they have. Do a FOIA request to find out what their emails say.
Right. Yeah.
So there's ways around it.
Right.
The other, the main part is finding a way to get the information
Channel
out
the
there.
information out. Yeah.
I know one of the biggest things we need to stop. I think when I came on, I was going to mention this is the biggest thing that the city needs to look into is somehow is either partner with somebody who's already doing it. Is transportation.
Yeah,
The biggest-
we spoke
The
about
biggest
that
thing
before.
is I know. You talk to people. It's like, how do we get from? I mean, don't get me wrong. We got the Explorer. It's great, but then we go to certain places.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go to a certain location where if they
and
can
then get out from there.
right, if you can expand. I mean,
A lot of people take a cab.
Well, even then, look at people live like let's say they live down Gold Street or whatever, or what you got to walk all the way to. I mean, it'll take you to Hannaford to get your groceries, but then you got to come here. And
So,
then
what do you propose the solution is to that?
So that's
it's a hard situation, but it's just maybe if we can't partner with somebody, like maybe partner with Kennebec Sport and add more stops along the way, or
Right.
it's like private company, private entity, or somebody who wants to help.
The hard part is I'm assuming I haven't looked into this obviously. 'Cause I don't live in Waterville and I have a license, but I'm assuming there isn't the revenue, which is there isn't enough revenue in it, which is why someone
make
hasn't
it
come up.
interesting for them to do it.
to have it. There isn't enough revenue to make it enough so that someone can then create something where they're going to make a profit.
Right.
And there's so many taxi cab companies that it's
The hard part is
It gets
realistically,
expense
there's only
at
one
that.
that's 24/7,
Right.
and that's Elite.
yeah.
Not Elite, but Pine Tree. Yes.
But even if let's say, I'm pretty sure you speak to a lot of people that would use it.
Oh yeah. Of course.
They would say, hey, I'd be let's say we charge you $1 a ride.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people willing to pay. I'd pay $1 a ride, knowing. But the biggest thing is, I think it's got to be expanded. Where you can't have like 4
More
stops. Let's say for instance, just they pick like certain section of the city. Let's say that I'm on the South End. Let's say the South End, they decide we'll do a pickup at like Gold and Summer Street, and then which is more centrally located for
in the housing areas. I see what you're saying. Maybe different pickup areas and drop offs.
Yeah, like the dense populated area. I'm sure you get a lot of people say, well, hey, I could take the bus, go into town, do what I gotta do.
Or like something like Iconic and Maple Street.
Right, get my groceries, and then I can board the bus. It's gonna take, it's gonna take me to, let's say I may live over down on Kimball Street. The bus is gonna drop me off at Sun and Gold. I'm more willing to pay the the dollar to it'll fund it's kind of hopefully.
But I don't see that being a realistic approach to like grocery shopping.
Well, not just grocery shopping, appointments and different things.
Because people aren't going to want to carry their groceries half a block down the road.
No.
If someone has a drop-off spot that's half a mile away.
Well, it's something you'd have to work on.
Right. Yeah. I think it's a... come up with something that's
just
some kind of private partnership.
Yeah. Right. Just more or less even I can open the discussion up. Maybe if somebody wants to willing to say...
Well, maybe someone that's watching wants to open up the discussion at like a city council meeting or something. In case I see Mike Morris was watching at one point.
But I know, you look at a lot of our population, it's
just getting older.
Too. I would say getting older, and there's a lot of population that don't have a vehicle or can't afford it or...
Don't have license.
Exactly.
Or don't drive.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. Like, I know a lot of people it's hard for jobs. I know someone...
Because you need a reliable way to get there, and if you can't rely on one of those calls from a cab company, which sometimes are late,
right.
Then you could.
That's what his problem is. He lives down off Grove Street, and he works almost way up near Walmart. Every morning, he's got to be in for 4 or 5 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
He's walking, all the way up there and all the way back. It's not that you don't have a license. It's just he can't afford a car. The upkeep and the maintenance.
They finally passed the transportation bill, right? In the House.
I think so.
They finally went through because I know they had to come back for a special session. I never followed up on. Never heard the follow up. Like I was just thinking because that's how like a lot of it gets its funding. A lot of the transportation gets its.
Well, yeah, Bruce White, who just joined in or is watching, is part of the transportation committee.
But I believe they
maybe he can.
Yeah, I know they had to go back in for a special session. I believe they did pass it finally, but. That would probably be an area to maybe look into funding,
maybe
expand
start
to push the discussion onward.
I agree with that. I mean, I do get what you're saying. The Kennebec Explorer goes really few places, but like you said, if you got to come all the way to the concourse to get onto the bus to go to Hannaford. Well, you might as well walk.
You might as well walk to Hannaford.
Right.
Right, exactly. Because then you're going to have to walk back anyway.
Right. So if you had
I don't know much about the KV Explorer. Is it certain times?
Yeah,
it's a schedule. I can't remember what it is, but it runs certain times and it goes to certain locations.
No, I know the hospitals are part of.
Yeah, is it at least like a circle or any kind of pattern to the stops?
Kind of. Yeah, it's like a loop.
And maybe it goes to like. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know they have a couple of buses too, but yeah, they also contend in Augusta. So.
Yeah,
the Explorer, that's KB Cap, right?
Yes. I mean, it's a good.
I should know more about that.
It's a good idea, but it's just
right.
It's one of those things where, especially, it's kind of can also be like a hindrance to
Well, it's a good idea, but it seems like it's
how to get it into the private sector. I think
but it also seems like because they're doing multiple towns, they can't do one town very well. They have to do two towns, sort of okay. So it makes it more difficult.
Into earlier with the ladder truck.
Right, exactly.
Which was more important.
Right. Because it almost sounds like Waterville and Augusta would need their own separate ones to do it properly.
In my opinion, that's how.
I don't know if they do Augusta. I know they have a bus that goes to Augusta.
Right.
But I don't think it.
If it's called KV, I would assume it goes.
I think they have one in Augusta, one specifically in Waterville, and then one does the back and forth trip from Waterville to Augusta. I believe is what it is.
I think so, something like that.
So what I want to know is there enough need to have one here full time that could at least
I would imagine
maybe not generate revenue, but at least be revenue neutral.
Right.
Right.
So it's obviously not going to make money because bringing people down for $1 a round isn't going to make money.
Right.
But as long as it doesn't cost money.
I know there are a lot of elderly that use it. My mother used to use it all the time before she got her car back, and I know there are quite a few elderly that use it. So, I mean...
And the other part of the conversation would be, do people think that would, like the ambulancing, do people think that would try to help put the cab companies out of business, like people are saying Waddle was doing with Delta?
Right.
Because it is, in a way, competing directly against cab companies.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with. I think if there's only one person that's doing it, there's a
mean,
monopoly. But
right. I honestly don't think it would, because...
The bond did pass.
what bond?
The
transportation.
No, I knew the transportation bond passed. Bonds always pass.
Right. No.
I don't remember
I just know that there was
bond failed.
Yeah. No, I was just saying. I knew that there was a delay. I was just talking.
People love their money. They love their bonds.
I really don't think it would put the cab companies out of business. You're still going to have your people that rely on them and they trust it.
Well, I don't think it would put out of business either, but that's the argument that people would make.
Right.
Yeah, I do see that.
Because they're doing that for the ambulance.
Right.
Well, what about Delta? Well, I'm sure Delta, they make enough money.
Delta will survive. I mean,
right. And if not, they'll have to adapt. Capitalism
no matter what,
says.
they'll still have your small towns. They'll still have. I don't know. I've heard from the rumors that Windsor's looking to get into it as well. But they'll still have the smaller towns. They'll still like Belgrade, Oakland. There's still a lot of smaller towns.
I know they've got a garage. Delta's got a garage over in Augusta, I think, as well too. So.
Yeah, they have 2 locations.
They're actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're actually a support for Augusta. Well, Augusta Fire transport themselves, but they only have so many.
Right.
They're actually a backup for...
You mean they transport themselves like people are trying to do with Waterville? You mean there's other people that do that?
I don't know. Do we actually?
I had no idea.
How long do we have? We have a couple hours. Because I can take a couple hours. I need an entire list of all the towns. There's even towns smaller than us that are transporting.
I know, like Albion.
So that was one of my questions.
Ridiculous.
And it did get answered. I was curious to know how many other towns do it, and it seems like there is a few that do it.
Well, even just as like a backup or of something,
right. And
you got to be able to rely on yourself. Self-reliance is important.
I think doesn't Unity transport?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think
Unity. I know I see an ambulance here says Unity ambulance. Oh, that might be private.
I only know Albion because someone said Albion was here helping Waterville, so. Sounds kind of silly that someone from Albion, a place that has more cows than people, would have their own ambulance, but not Waterville, someone that has 16,000 people.
Right.
Like I said, there's towns smaller than us that actually have their own ambulance to transport. Clinton is smaller than us, and they have their own. They have 2 that can transport.
Well, we will too.
We will have 2.
Clinton has more cows than people too.
Yeah. Well, Clinton is a huge farming area.
I'd say they're not the dairy
capital.
I was saying they're not the dairy capital of the world.
So I guess the question would be now is what is the next step from here? I know I read something about them.
They'll get a bid.
Bidding it.
They got to place a bid out on the 2 ambulances.
Okay. So.
Which I hope.
I know
when the bid comes out, I hope the bids aren't of wildly different ambulances.
Right.
Because the advantage of where they were thinking about getting the 2 ambulances is they were very like models that would use parts interchangeably and that had the same setup. So it would have been nice to be able to have 2 ambulances that were like for like, as opposed to maybe a bid's going to be for one ambulance is going to be somewhere else. Maybe a 2014 GMC, and the other one's going to be a 2013 Ford F-350.
I know that was a concern with some people. Was they wanted?
Well, there was no transparency because there was no bidding process.
And it depends on what you do for a company. I mean, if you're looking more newer, you're looking at bigger companies. They're going to be, and a lot of your companies may not have used. They may do. They're going to build you a bill for a custom new ambulance.
Right.
Where you're talking, sometimes one new ambulance can be over $100,000.
Yeah,
where two used ambulances can be under 100.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I definitely would never advocate for one brand new ambulance. If you're gonna do this as a backup service, you don't need brand new. You need a couple used ones that have mileage.
Like you said, interchangeable parts.
Yeah, if it's like a GMC and a Chevy.
Right, it's still a GMC.
It's a lot better than a Ford and a GMC or whatever.
Right.
Because obviously, for GMC aren't going to be at all interchangeable for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't know how, even when you get into medical equipment, I don't know how diverse it is with interchanging, like the way things fit. You know what I mean?
Like the way one ambulance would be set up.
Retrofitted.
Right.
And it really, I think at that point, it depends on wherever you get it retrofitted.
I'm sure there is a few different designs, but
I think for the most part, you look at most ambulances; they're all standard setup.
Right,
anyway.
right.
I mean,
Because I would imagine, you'd want
one
to
might use like a different wall cavity than the other, but they're all going to be the same, like, you know, height for like your pegs and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, what do you do when you only have a couple viewers?
You know, most of your standards are your door,
No.
your bench, and then your door on one side, then your small cabinet with like a workbench. And
yeah, the different cabinets could be different. But
I remember Sean was talking about the two ambulances had the something about the patient bed.
they already had
They had it with it, and I guess some
and that was like I think $20,000 or $30,000 for those beds. So, and people aren't going to take into account, or they might not take into account going to a used ambulance place looking for one of those already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw that book.
Yeah,
I don't know how he even.
He's got to be very organized. Maybe someone can tag him and we can get him on here.
Right? Yeah, that would be sweet.
So that way we can
show you the book. Get the book out. So everybody see the book. That thing was huge.
Ask the questions right from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Definitely.
Because
he said he had like 10 years worth of research in that thing. So
that's why when someone's like, "Well, it's hidden out of secrecy," well, the chief has a lot of the research already done. All you got to do, I'm sure, is ask to see the book.
Right, and I guess I can see because I remember hearing too. There was talk about bringing in like a third party.
That would be a waste of money.
Yeah, so I remember
all these studies. People don't take into account that they just cost thousands upon thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and then whether or not you do it, you still have to spend the money. Yeah. Well, there you go. You just wasted like $4,000 on a study. Yeah. Regardless if you do it or not, you could have just spent that $4,000 on something else, like an ambulance, to go to money towards an ambulance.
Salt and sand.
Right.
But
well, I mean, look at I think one of the council meetings. I remember when they were talking about I think it's bond money, whatever, getting the new equipment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the person sitting next to me, every time they mention a piece of equipment that we need, it's like she was like snickering and kind of like, oh, we don't need this. More taxes. Like, you don't realize that most of the equipment he was buying is equipment we need.
Right.
I mean, that tractor and that.
But in some of it, you need legally.
Look at the snowblower. You know, the new snowblower they're getting. The snowblower we had was like, if you think you look, how many years have we had that thing? They've been putting parts in that thing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You know, they're constantly putting parts. I mean, look, same thing like a ladder truck. Everybody's saying a ladder truck. Oh, we can kind of do this. We can have them. No. I mean, in 2010, it went to almost 110. Don't quote me, but it was like $110,000 refurbishment.
Wow.
You know, I think that was back in 2010. And then how many times do you look at it out? I mean, they're putting parts into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're just basically.
Well, it's safety.
You're just basically milking. You know, you're just milking it.
And people don't even take into account that some of these things that are necessary are requirements set at the state level.
Well, you know, I bet you probably look into it, you know, from 2010 to now, the money they probably put into it, they basically bought the new ladder truck already.
Hmm.
You know, the money we're putting in to try to keep this truck on the road. I mean, it's a whole truck.
There's one thing to try to be really good with your tax money and be due diligent with what you spend it on. There's another thing where you're trying to push pennies to the detriment of, you know, people's safety. Mm-hmm. Because people were questioning about whether or not that ladder truck was going to come apart, weren't they?
What do you mean?
Wasn't there like a safety issue
with
it?
The old one? It's got safety issues.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not exactly sure what they are, but I know, like I said, it's 20 years old and it's
got some mileage.
It's gotten some use. I know that much. But.
Well, I guess you want to wrap? We can wrap.
Yeah, we can wrap.
We can wrap. So definitely thank you for checking out all sides of Kennebec. Next week we should have a show, so right? Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for letting us,
no problem.
just regular
Thank you
citizens,
for coming on, guys.
here and
You're welcome.
Definitely, thank you.
say our thing. And appreciate
Definitely.
that.
Don't we have someone for next week?
Yeah, I believe so. I gotta check. I know there's someone. I just can't think
Hopefully, maybe
who
we
it
got,
is.
got a few people thinking today about some of the ideas.
Right. And that's another thing too. If you're just a regular person and you have something you want to get out, hit us up. Let us know. We'll invite you on. It's not just politicians we're looking for.
No,
So,
we want everyone,
just any type of feedback.
community people that are, people that might be trying to help out Cena, for instance, or the, United Way, or people that are trying to help the homeless shelter. Really, anybody that has something they want, a message.
Right. You need an outlet, and we'll help you get it out. I mean, we're averaging about 1,000, almost 900, between 900 and 1,000 views on the videos. So people are watching them.
Yep.
So
Okay.
definitely. Until next time, be easy, be safe. Remember, True Patriot questions everything. And until next time.
Thank you.